Hey everyone, welcome to our Warrior Babe interview with our veteran Warrior Babe, Jenn. Jenn has been a Warrior Babe for a year and almost 6 months. You
I think
joined us
so.
in
hmm
May 2019. And you started at 129 pounds. You were 27% body fat, being
Yeah.
5'2", and 29 at the time, right? You were 29 when you joined us.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then you dropped down to 116-ish, 20% body fat. And then
hmm
that was in 6 months. And then we did a reverse and a build for like 3 to 4 months. And you started your second cut for about 5 to 6 months. And then you got as low as 111 pounds.
11. Yeah.
Woo! In a year and 6 months, dude, you have completely changed your body composition. Like you are no longer the skinny fat Jenn.
No, not at all.
Your
Thank
transformation,
goodness.
yeah, your transformation has been insanely incredible. So everyone, Jenn is here today to share some pointers for you, babe, so that you can adopt some of her strategies for your own journey moving forward. So welcome, Jenn. I'm excited to have you here, babe.
Thanks. I'm excited.
Cool. All right, so let's get a little bit of background on you. I did share how old you are, but like, what's your occupation? What do you do? How long have you been in fitness? Yeah, let's take it from there.
So I'm Jennifer. I am 31. I live in Houston, Texas, and I work as a surgical physician assistant. So I'm in surgery most days, which is awesome. Um, I I guess I really started getting it like I was always kind of I'm just gonna go run and kind of work out. Like I never actually lifted weights. And through college would just kind of do it every now and then. And then in PA school, one of my roommates actually convinced me to do this program, like weightlifting program with her. And so that kind of like introduced me to it. And then once I got out of school and moved to Houston, I started more working out every single day, doing like Orange Theory, doing kickboxing, and just basically just becoming more active.
Cool, babe. How do you feel like being in the fitness and nutrition world? How do you feel like it's changed your life?
Ugh. They definitely say it's a lifestyle change and not just like a fad diet. And I feel like it was always a fad diet until I joined WarriorBabe. I feel like the year and a half has like completely just transformed my way of thinking of just like, okay, like I'm not doing this to like lose weight or like gain muscle. I mean, I am, but at the same time, like my mindset has just shifted of like, I enjoy changing my body. I enjoy like working towards, I enjoy learning about my body and how food affects my body. And so Warrior Babe has transformed my way of thinking for sure.
That's awesome, babe. Well, let's start from the beginning of your Warrior Babe journey. So, what were you doing before you found Warrior Babe? Like, what diets, what other programs, and like what struggles were you trying to solve at that time?
So I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know what it was called, how to figure out how to get there. And so I kind of like looked into nutritionists to be like, like I don't know how to get here, but this is what I want, and they were zero help. Um, and a friend of mine had suggested this other girl who seemed to be like wanting similar or like was doing similar things. And she introduced me to a coach who had done some bodybuilding, and he kind of basically he put me on a very strict diet. I've ate the same thing every single day for however long. It was very bland and I hated it and I just forced myself to eat it. But I feel like that was the first kind of understanding of like what I wanted and like how to attain it in some ways. Um, and so that helped me my Google searching a lot more just to be able to figure out kind of what I wanted. And then you popped up on Instagram and kept saying the exact same thing that I wanted. And I was like, yes, that's it. Like, this is what I want. I don't want to like lose a ton of weight. I just want to get the fat off my body. Um, and so, yeah, saw you on Instagram and I like immediately signed up for Revolution and kind of like journey of Warrior Babe. I started out in Revolution and just like basically every single Q&A I was on, just listening to every single question, because 9 times out of 10 those babes have more questions than I thought I knew, like, wanted to know. Um, and then after like a month or 2, I joined the Blueprint, and then just spent like weeks and weeks just like trying to learn all like watch all the videos and just absorb as much information as I could. Um, and then at that point, I was like, I want to like do this well and like need to learn from Nikki. And so that's when I joined VIP in May.
Nice, babe. You've just gone up the you were like, I need more, I need more, I need more.
I
It's
know, exactly.
like, wow.
Yep.
That's awesome. So I know I shared a little bit about your results with the opening of this interview, but I want to, let's hear it from you. What results have you achieved, and how did those results improve your life?
Yeah. So we started out in a cutting phase, and I was at 129 and got down to like 116, and that was a struggle. So it's basically like jumping straight in of, here's all your macros, here's what you need to eat, here's your water, and then just learning that like how each of the foods that I ate affected my body, and also learning how to curb like cravings and social settings. And I think that was one of the biggest things that I learned the first round, is that like I obviously, doing this is very different from normal people, like people's normal lifestyle, counting macros is. And so like my friends, it was hard for them to understand like why I was doing this, because I was the skinny fat and they didn't understand my goals. Um, and so like them always pressuring and being like, why are you doing this? And then all like obviously in social settings just want to go and like gorge my face with Mexican food. Like that took a lot of self-control, and it took a lot of learning because I felt a lot. Um, and it was towards the end where you kind of were like, you need to kick it in gear. Like your goals are not, like what you're doing is not, what did you say? I think you said like
Your actions
your,
are in alignment with the goals that you want
yes,
to accomplish.
yes. So that kind of like kicked me into gear, and I was like, okay, let's just focus and finish this out. And then I, um, hormonally, I was kind of out of whack. Like I lost my period for a few months. And so by the end of that cut, I was like, my body needs to like be in a maintenance phase. And we were also low on calories, and it was hard because my body had never done that before.
Mm.
And so going into the maintenance phase, it was hard, and I hated it because you like gain weight back, and you also, because I lost my period, we were trying to get me to gain more fat and kind of get that period back to normalizing, which it did. And I ended up going back up to 125. So I felt like all the work that I had done, I had lost. Um, but you continue to just like trust the process, like trust me, I promise. And and I think at that point it would have been, the whole first cut was like, I just want to get to this cut and be done. And then after going through that and then going through the maintenance phase and a little bit of the building, I think it finally shifted of like, this is not just a one and done. Like it's actually going to be a lifestyle. Like it's going to take a really well, not a really long time, but it's going to take time to build the body that I want. And so going into the second cut, I was in a much better mindset. Socially, I had finally like learned how to take trips. I took all my food on all my trips. All my protein was loaded up in the airport and got checked a few times, but you went in, it's fine. They don't actually take it.
You became the queen of learning social situations. It's amazing to see where you were with your friends, hearing, the weekend and whatever you were telling me and why results weren't happening. That's when I was like, you got to kick it into gear, girl.
Yeah.
And then that switch, you just were like, okay, like I'm in control of this. Like I can control
Mhm.
it. How can I do it? And then you just
Yeah.
you did a whole 180 from the social situations to now. Like you are just fully
Yeah.
in control.
I know. And it's been like, I think it was more of just thinking like, okay, here's my goals. Eating this food is gonna taste great. But what is it gonna do? It's gonna make me feel guilty. It's gonna make me feel bloated. It's gonna make me like hate myself and do a lot of like self explosion in my mind. Whereas I could have a bite or two, be satisfied, and then just move on. and like eat my food that I cooked that tastes just as good. So, this cut was a lot better, and I didn't hit the exact number that I wanted, but I learned that, like, I can withstand social situations. My body is also, like, different from everyone, so, like, my goal number may have looked different on me than it's gonna look on somebody else.
Mhm.
Um, and so I accepted that and just hit it hard, and I got down to, like, my ideal body, and then now we're starting to go back up to maintenance. And it's been cool because now I've learned so much about my body that, like, the first time around, if I would have gained 2 pounds in a week, I would have freaked out, and this week, like, I started out the week at 112. Now I'm up to, like, I think I weighed in at 114.8 this morning.
Mhm.
But I know it's a lot of water weight. I know it's hormonal because 'cause I'm gonna start my period next week, and I know, like, I didn't get the best sleep last night. So, like, I'm not worried about it. I know it's gonna come off. I know that I've stuck to my diet this week, and so, yeah.
Everything you're saying, this is so amazing. The women that are gonna be listening to this are just gonna be like, "Oh my gosh!" Like like they're just. It's gonna be such an impactful interview for sure.
Good.
From what you're saying already, I can just feel it. You know, you said that you. I'm gonna pull out what you just said. Have you explain a little bit more? You're like, you know, this one, it's not one and done, right? The
Yeah.
one cut is not one and done. I'm not gonna get to my ideal shape. You know, that's just what people think, but like you are a perfect example of somebody who you've completely changed your body composition to this day, but you're the perfect individual who has gone through the different phases.
Mhm.
So like what can you say to somebody who, you know, is like thinks it's one and done? Like what can you say to that person?
I think the biggest thing is, like, you have to just focus on each goal, because otherwise you're like, "Oh my gosh, it's gonna take me 4 years to get the body that I want. I'm done. I'm just gonna eat what I want."
Mhm.
Whereas if you think, "Okay, I have this goal in mind, it's probably gonna take me anywhere from 3 to 6 months." And then you just pick it up, "Okay, let's just make it to the end of, like, my cut ended the end of August, September area." So I was like, "Let's just make it to then." And then throughout that time, you're like, each day, you're like, "Okay, I'm 6 months closer. I'm almost done. I'm almost done." And then you just kind of, and then after that, you're like, "Okay, let's reevaluate. Let's go back into a maintenance phase. Let's go into a building phase." And you just set smaller goals throughout the year. And the next thing you know, it's a year and a half. You're like, "Holy crap, where'd the time go?"
Yeah, girl, seriously, you've accomplished in a year and a half what takes normally people 4 years, 5 years, because they go on
Mhm.
the yo they're yo-yoing, you know, they're like, okay, I'm done. Now I can eat. And then they're like, but now I'm back to where I was when I first
Yeah,
started. And like
exactly.
not to say you didn't have those moments. You've overcame those moments and
For
you
sure.
totally had them 100%, but it's like you snapped back right away. Whereas
Mhm.
like people usually go on this 2, 3 week and before they know it, it's 2 months and they're like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
literally cut down what normally takes people again like 4 or 5 years. You've done it in a year and a half. It's incredible. It's incredible. So, what do you think the impact of becoming a warrior babe has been?
It's life-changing, honestly. So, not only from just learning about your body, learning how food affects your body, learning to just build muscle and, like, how to manipulate your body, and in some ways, like, be in control of that. Like, the community that we have is insane. Like, we not only on just the VIP Facebook page, but the Blueprint and the Revolution, like, I'm part of all 3, and so I get to see all the, like, encouragements through those. Like, the women that get on here showing ourselves and showing our bodies is literally the most vulnerable thing that we can do as women. And, like, we are so insecure and we are so hard on ourselves that by being brave and being courageous enough to post that and be like, "Hey, today," like, there's been a few VIPs even that's been like, "Hey, I've been off the bandwagon for a few weeks, like, I really need some encouragement." And then you just see, like, everyone just pouring in and be like, "You look awesome. Don't worry about this." And it's one of those, like, you get so far in your head that when you finally see the compliments and encouragement, you're like, "Okay, I
Breathe.
got this. It's fine. It sucks, and I, like, wanna listen to the lies, but I'm not going to today."
You're giving me chills. You're giving me chills. Spot on.
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned the vulnerability and then being courageous enough, being confident enough to share, hey, I failed. Hey, I messed
Yeah,
up. And then
exactly.
the women just picking everybody right up. It is incredible. Um, Now let's pull back into your journey. How do you deal with the psychological side of things of eating more food in order to get to where you've gotten to?
That's hard. The first time around was really, really hard. I definitely had a lot of like, why am I doing this? Like, I feel so fat. Like, I just am losing all the work that I just did. And I think through that process, I think the community helped a ton and you helped a ton if you're just like, trust it. I need you to get your period back and I need you to do this and then we'll change your body. And I think it was really helpful because the first cut that we went through, it was the first time it happened and my body hadn't really gone through this and we needed to train it to do what we needed it to do. And so through the maintenance phase and kind of through the second cut phase, I feel like my body finally caught up so that this round I feel so much better. Yes, you're like each time each week, my carbs have been increasing in like the first few weeks. I definitely notice a lot of bloating and just like your body's not used to those carbs, and so it's going to react a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel like one, my body's adjusted, so it's taking in the carbs and it's not like just gaining weight. But I also feel like I've learned so much about my body that like when I notice that I need to stop, like, I let you know. And,
Mhm.
like, there was I mean, if like, a week or 2 ago, I was like, "Hey, I'm gaining, like, I feel it. I know, like, my body's just not adjusting. Can we just slow down a little bit?"
Mhm.
And that was really helpful.
For sure. I think what's really cool about like the VIPs and about our relationship is like, one, you trust me and you just do it and you believe me,
Yeah.
like, right? That's one really important thing. You just, even though you kind of like your mind starts saying, whoa, 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 it's like, I'm just going to do it anyway. And you just do it. And that's
Mhm.
freaking amazing. But then on top of that, it's a 50-50 effort as our team. Like you and me, it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, Jen saying this, let's work together, let's figure it out, pull back if we need to, stop with the reverse a little bit. And communication, that's like it,
Mhm.
to any coach in the VIP, communication is so important. Communication, the blueprint, so important. Utilizing the Q&As, so important.
So important.
Yeah.
Because
um
even if you're not in the VIP, like, doing it yourself, like, as you learn the longer you do it, the more you learn about your body and the more you recognize, like, "Okay, I need to stop," or, like, "This week I feel good," and so or, like, "Last week I felt good and we made a change that we needed to make."
yep.
Um, but even if you're not in VIP, I feel like it's still like, you can utilize those Q&As, you can utilize the Facebook group to be like, "Hey, this is what's going on in my body, does anyone have any advice?"
Yep.
And those who have been doing it longer are like, okay, here's what I suggest. And then usually you and some of the other coaches are also reading through the feeds and kind of giving your input as well.
Yeah, 100%. And that you said, like, people that have been doing it for longer too, they kind of, you get into a groove, right? You start understanding your body, you start recognizing what's going on.
Hmm.
So, what would you say? Because at that point, it's like it's kind of smooth sailing. Like you're able to know the cues, you recognize your body. What advice would you give someone who is just getting started?
Take it day by day and take a breath because it is a lot to take in. And
Mhm.
so I think obviously I've talked a lot about like don't just do a one and done like a fix and hope that it's quick. Go into it with the mindset of like, okay, this is going to be a lifestyle change. It's not going to be just something a new fad thing that I do. And then also just taking it, watching the videos, doing as much as you can to just absorb the information and like accept your failures because you will fail and it's okay. And that's why it's a journey and not just a fad because you're going to have ups and downs the whole time.
For sure. I was listening to something interesting the other day, how we're just all habit loops, right? And in order to, because it is truly a lifestyle. I was listening to something like you can't accomplish something in 30 days or 2 months, because then the reason why people go yo-yo is like their habit grooves
Mm-hmm.
from years prior are so deep and ingrained that they always resort back to those habits, even though they were just doing something for 60 days or 90 days. Those habits are so strong. So it's like we're constant habit loops. We have to keep reiterating these habits that we've created for ourselves and got us to where we are. We have to make brand new habits that change the whole course of the lifestyle, the journey that you're on. Because if not, I mean, you know, you're gonna face them here and there. You're gonna come back to in social situations, okay, whatever, I'm gonna have a couple pieces, but you've created a new habit that like is more ingrained and more powerful than what your old habits are. And
Oh,
that's how
for
you
sure.
the lifestyle. That's how
Mm-hmm.
you go on to, wanting to work out, wanting to hit your macros, wanting to eat good. Um, and then you can even now transition. I mean, you've incorporated some intuitive days. So like then you would start learning more things that even hone in more on a lifestyle. But you've got
Yeah,
it. There's such a habit loop. So we've got to reiterate these habits that don't serve us to habits that do serve us for our goals.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those habits are so hard to break and to form. Um, and I think like once you just commit to the first cut or the first phase essentially that you're going through, usually after that phase, because it takes 3 to 6 months, I feel like that's when the habits start forming and you're like, okay, I want to go work out, I want to like do this, I want to eat right, because I feel like crap when I don't.
Yes. 100% spot on. Um, all right. So where I think you mentioned this in the beginning, but where did you first hear about Warrior Babe, and like what piqued your interest the most about it?
So I saw an ad on Instagram. um so praise for those, because sometimes you get into a rabbit hole and sometimes you change your life. So
That was great. Oh, that's awesome.
but yeah, so I kind of explained a little bit before, like I didn't know what I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know the verbiage used to like get that. Um and so you like I like watched a video and then I went down the rabbit hole and watched a lot more videos. And I mean everything you said was just yes. Like I am not trying to like lose weight, but I just want to get more toned. I want to have um kind of control of my body and be able to manipulate it in certain ways, and I want to have muscle and just look a lot leaner.
Mhm.
And you just said all of those things, and at the same time um being able to eat what I want. And that was the biggest thing. So the first time around, the trainer that I was with, literally had me eating just like broccoli, rice, and chicken. No flavor, no nothing. And I love to cook. And so like literally every single week I make like new recipes. Like this week I tried salmon burgers and I made like a beef stew and I made some like mini pumpkin muffins that were so good. So I love being able to have just like the freedom and that of food, which piqued my interest a lot.
Yeah, so that's actually I'm happy that you brought that up, because I do know that you love to cook. And so
Mm-hmm.
many women struggle with like, I know you don't have a family yet, you're working towards it, but how do you incorporate the meals that you make into your macros?
My fitness pal is my best friend. And so I will look at, I'm a huge Pinterest person, so I get a ton of recipes from Pinterest, and I have a few cookbooks that I love and that are go-tos. And so basically, I just create recipes inside my fitness pal, and go through and just kind of manipulate to get the macros that I need. So like the the beef stew that I made. It was basically ground beef with a ton of veggies and like potatoes, and then I made like these homemade dumplings to go inside of it. And so I would just go into my fitness pal and I would just type in like extra lean ground beef and how much, and do like a pound. And then I would do, I think I did like 12 ounces of potatoes, and then however much broccoli and green beans and onions and carrots and stuff. But say I needed less protein. So then instead of a pound of ground beef, I would just adjust it to like half a pound or 3/4 pound. And so I would just keep going back and forth to be like, okay, I need 20 grams or 30 grams of protein for this meal. So I'm just going to keep manipulating that ground beef until I get that. And then same with the like the potatoes. If I have too many carbs for that meal, I'll just cut the amount of potatoes and then keep manipulating it till I get that macro. And I'll usually do it to where it makes 4 servings because I'll eat it throughout the week. And so then I basically just throw it all in a pot, weigh it, and divide it by 4. And that kind of gives me how much for each serving. And so that each serving is now the exact macros that I need. So
Incredible.
it's kind of detailed, but honestly, like once you get the hang of it, like, I mean, it's you always mention like make sure that we plan ahead because if you don't plan ahead, it's not going to be a successful day most of the time. And
Mhm.
so like I will plan my week the previous week. And so I'll just pick like 2 or 3 days that I'll have like the same breakfast, lunch, and snacks, but switch up my dinners. And so it takes me 10 minutes to plan like my whole week and it's super easy and like I get to play around with it and like sometimes I'll include cheap things of like I made like banana chocolate chip pancakes for snacks one time and they were delicious.
That sounds so good. You're making me drool.
It's so good.
Oh my
And
god.
they're healthy. Like there's different options that you can do, like different kinds of chocolate chips that's made with stevia instead of regular sugar. And so you just learn and find ways to work around it that still taste so good.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe I'll have to grab like the ingredients from you and either post it in like a screenshot here or we'll put it beneath the video or something like that so that women can
Oh
have
yeah.
communication
I
you're
have
talking.
tons. I have lots and lots of recipes.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's gonna help so many women because there's so many women who struggle with like, well, how do I cook for my family and then me?
Hmm.
They think they have to make separate meals when they don't. You just have to plan. Literally,
Yep.
like all warrior babes are gonna have tattoos that say plan, like plan ahead. It's a
And
big
even like my meals that I'm making, like the beef stew, like my boyfriend and I ate it for dinner last night. Like it's hearty and it's delicious. And I even made like a spaghetti squash casserole one time for like a friend dinner and like everyone loved it. So yeah, you don't have to change your meals, just make something good for everyone.
exactly. And break it down just like Jen did, guys. Like break it down with my fitness pal, put it in the way she just explained it, and it's done. And it's
Hmm.
awesome that you say now you plan your weeks ahead, weeks now. Like we started off as just plan ahead your days.
Yeah.
Now it's the point where it's only 10 minutes. You're planning an entire week. That's incredible.
Hmm.
That gives a lot of inspiration to a lot of people who are just getting started too. Like it does get easier. You just got to keep putting in the work to
Right.
become
Exactly.
yeah. So describe what being a warrior babe means to you. Like what does being a warrior babe mean to you?
Um, it means the world. Like I feel so privileged to like one just be a part of the community. And having been with it for a year and a half now, like there's some warrior braves that have also like we started at the same time, and so it's really cool to be able to like see their journeys, but also just encourage the new people and encourage them in their journeys and be encouraged myself, um, because life's hard and sometimes, even if it has nothing to do with fitness or food or anything, like sometimes we just help with the like life problems. And it's just really cool. Like, I have never been a part of a community that's so uplifting. And that's so encouraging in your goals and like your struggles and just constantly wanting you to do your best.
That's amazing.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
What area do you feel like you get the most value?
I would say community. I don't participate as much as everyone else, but I still read them all. And I think just like seeing other people's like wins, um, like each week on our call, we always go over each other's wins, and it's really cool to be able to like celebrate everyone in those wins. And I feel like now that I've gotten kind of a good grasp of like food and nutrition, that's kind of what I look. The community part is like what I get most out of it now. Um, but I mean, it's still a learning process, and I feel like each time I join in on calls, you still learn something new. Like the other day, y'all talked about a pelvic tilt, and every time I do anything now, all I do is tuck in my pelvic.
Beautiful. I love that. How likely are you to recommend Warrior Babe?
Oh, 1,000%. Like, it's so easy to sell something that you believe in and that you've done and that you know works and that you know takes time, but anyone that is even piqued interest in like my lifestyle, I'm like, let me tell you. And I just go off on this whole thing.
That's awesome, babe. Why should someone listening right now take action?
You can continue to make excuses for yourself every day. So why not just stop making excuses and just take action? Change your life.
Mic drop. That's awesome, babe. That's so true. You could
That's
have
funny.
years ahead of you of excuses, or right now, just like you said, you could go down the rabbit hole of all the ads that are on Facebook and Instagram, and it could
Yep.
change. Your life.
Yeah. So true.
That's awesome. So let's close out with your favorite, because you love to cook. So I know you've got tons of
Hmm.
them. Your favorite snack slash macro combo.
I think right now my favorite snack that I've been making is banana chocolate chip pancakes. Um, but I also am obsessed with my pre and post workouts. I have a banana bread English muffin, which if you haven't tried, find them. They're so good. And then you introduced me to peanut butter chocolate Cheerios, and I'm obsessed. There's
They're bomb.
like I could eat the whole box and make myself sick, but they're so freaking good.
They are amazing. And you get more carbs, so you can just keep adding
Yeah,
it and brew
exactly.
more cups. I
I
love it.
know.
All right. What's your favorite muscle group to work out?
Mm. I have a love-hate relationship with leg day. I love it, and I like because I still love cardio, and I just love getting my heart rate up and doing kind of like hit style stuff. And I feel like legs are really good about, or at least the workout I have now is killing me with cardio, but it's also just feels really like your legs are one of the strongest muscles, and so just like working them just makes you feel strong and powered, and you're like, oh,
Hulk
so
mode.
yes, exactly.
Awesome, Jen. Well, thank you, babe, so much for your time on this interview today. And for those of you who want to learn more about the programs that Warrior Babe offers and how to get started, you can go to www.warriorbabe.com. And like Jen said, become a part of this community of women who are getting toned and becoming a stronger, more confident version of themselves. So
Sign up.
yes, sign up right now, take action. Thank you. I appreciate your time. It's been, this interview is going to help so many women from so many different points that you've shared. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.